Today, we're going to talk about the Chicago Cubs. Let's tell it how it is. The Cubs sucked. They won the World Series in 1908. Woohoo! Go Cubs! But then they stunk from 1945 minus 1908. I don't know, a lot of years, alright? So the year was 1945, and this fan buys 2 tickets to the Super Bowl. I mean the World Series game at Wrigley Stadium for him and his pet goat. Now Mr. Wrigley, Wrigley, like the gum, walks down to this fan and tells him and his goat to beat it. Your goat stinks. The crazy sports fan gets pissed and yells, "My goat doesn't stink. The Cubs stink. I put a curse on the Cubs so they never win anything ever again." The Cubs lose the series and they suck again because they have no long-term vision. Years go by and nothing changes. They always draft the most skillful individuals, but lose to suckier teams. Like the little Giants could have beat them, honestly. So, 2011 rolls around, and the new Big Cheese general manager, Theo Epstein, rolls through and totally changes the way things work. He comes in and goes, "The sum is greater than the parts of its whole," or something inspirational like that. He puts up some math equation, I don't know what it means, but he points to it and says, "We have to get the players with the best character, not strictly the most skillful, so we can create positive team synergy." Along with that mighty good tactic, he also lays out a specific 5-year plan so we can measure the team's progress, because after all, things that get measured get managed. So now here we are, at the end of Theo Epstein's magical 5-year plan and celebrating 100 years at the oh-so-famous Wrigley Field. The season starts against the LA Angels and finishes against the Cincinnati Reds. They won 103 total games, the most wins in a season since 1910, and finished the season with the best record in the MLB. The Cubs defeated the New York Giants, sorry, wrong sport, the San Francisco Giants in the National League Division Series, and then the LA Dodgers in the NL Championship Series in 6 games. Nothing can stop the Cubs' momentum as they are World Series bound. The Cubs were the heavy favorites against the Cleveland Indians heading into the 2016 World Series. But things looked more worse than ever after the Cubs lost 7-2 in Game 3. They were losing for the entire game. Only a handful of teams in the history of baseball had ever overcome a 3-1 series deficit, so the odds were stacked against the Cubs big time. Morale was at its lowest point of the season. So Joe Maddon has to face the music from the press, and in from all of the cameras and the media from after the blowout, he gives Cubs fans a glimmer of hope by saying, "Listen, I'll take responsibility for a lack of team cohesion in games 1-3, and I promise all Cub fans that I'll get the rest of the coaching staff more involved in the game plan so that they could make better personnel decisions on the fly." They needed to communicate more, and he wanted to empower them to just have as much of a say as he did, so that they would make better decisions with more shared information. Next, he addressed the players and told his team, "Guys, we need to get back to trusting each other and treating our teammates like family." But perhaps the wisest thing that Joe Maddon did that night was calling his vets, John Ross and Jason Hayward. He looked at them and said, "Show those younger guys how to fight on every play and close out a series." Maddon knew that positive reinforcement and active leadership could motivate his talented bunch to dig themselves out of that hole. Little did he know that 4 games later, Jason Hayward would take the team into the weight room and give one of the best speeches the Cubs had ever seen to push them to a World Series title. The Cubs needed to get past the pressure that was in front of them and focus on the big goal. There were many steps that the coaches took in order to ensure that the team was placed in the best position possible in order to reach victory. A team player told an interviewer that the conversations in the locker room before each of the games really changed everything up. He said that instead of being nervous, the players and coaches would encourage one another, and each guy in the locker room would walk out feeling a sense of identification to the team and to themselves. Personally, I was amazed at Jason Hayward's leadership in the locker room before extra innings in Game 7. He told his team, "We're the best team in baseball, and we're the best team in baseball for a reason. Now, we're going to show it. We play like the score is 0-0. We've got to stay positive and fight for your brothers. Stick together, and we're going to win this game." As if this wasn't enough to get the team rallied, John Ross came up and said, "Hey, it's not how many times you get knocked down, how many times you get up." And I think this sums up this sweet, sweet victory. Here's a team that had a rough run. Sorry, just really thirsty. Arguably the toughest in history. They started at the drawing board. They hand-selected their players, motivated them, enabled them to motivate each other, and ultimately create a sense of community and identification to the Cubs organization. Even when they were at their lowest, they were able to turn things around and bring that baby on home. It's not every day that we see a victory this sweet, that we see a team turn around hundreds and hundreds, no, just 100, of years of failures. And that's how the Chicago Cubs won the 2016